Why did 9 hikers tear out of their tent at night? A was not unusual with such expeditions. However, as the days ticked by, concern began to grow. By February 20th, the families of the hikers demanded a rescue operation. The Ural Polytechnic Institute sent the first rescue groups composed of volunteer students and teachers. Later, the military became involved, deploying planes and helicopters to join the search. On February 26th, the rescuers found the group's abandoned and badly damaged tent on the eastern slope of Kholat Syakhl. The scene was perplexing. The tent had been cut open from the inside. The group's belongings, including shoes, were left behind, as if they had fled in a hurry, despite the severe cold that night. Footprints found in the snow suggested that 8 or 9 people had walked away from the tent, heading downslope to a nearby wooded area. The prints indicated these individuals were either barefoot or wearing only socks. But why would experienced hikers dare such a perilous escape into the wilderness unprepared? As the search continued, rescuers would uncover a chilling sequence of events that only deepened the mystery of what compelled these young adventurers to abandon their shelter in the dead of night. A's were common with expeditions of this nature, especially given the harsh conditions of the northern Urals in winter. But as the days dragged on, concern mounted, and by the 20th of February, the families of the missing hikers insisted on a rescue effort. An initial search party, consisting of volunteer students and teachers, was soon dispatched. However, it was not until later that the military and police became involved, providing additional manpower and resources, including aircraft and helicopters. On February 26th, the searchers made a grim discovery. They stumbled upon the group's tent on the eastern slopes of Kholat Syakhl. It was half collapsed, partially covered in snow, and most alarmingly, appeared to have been cut open from the inside. Inside the tent lay the hikers' belongings and shoes, eerily undisturbed. Yet, there was no sign of the group. The only clues were a series of footprints leading away from the camp, barefoot or in socks, heading into the bitter cold. The searchers followed the tracks, descending toward the tree line. What they would find there would only deepen the mystery, leaving investigators with more questions than answers, and a chilling realization of the ordeal these young adventurers faced. A's were common on such expeditions. However, as days slipped by with no word, concern began to swell among the families and friends of the hikers. By February 20th, a search party was finally dispatched. The initial search, comprised largely of fellow students and teachers, had no idea what they would soon uncover. Upon reaching the group's last known campsite, the scene that greeted them was baffling. The tent was found, but it was in a state of disarray, slashed open from the inside, a clear sign of a hasty escape. Footprints, some barefoot, led down toward the tree line. As the investigators followed the trail, hopes of a simple explanation faded with each step. The first 2 bodies were discovered near the remains of a makeshift fire at the edge of the forest, inadequately dressed for the bitter cold. It was just the beginning of a grim journey. Further up the slope, more bodies were found, each discovery raising more questions than answers. What could have caused such a seasoned group to flee into the deadly cold? As the search continued, one thing became disturbingly clear. Whatever had driven them from their tent was powerful enough to instill sheer terror. But there was still more to find, deeper into the woods. A's of a few days were common in such expeditions. But as the days stretched into weeks, concern turned into action. On February 20th, a full-scale search was initiated. As searchers combed the frigid landscape, the first unsettling clue emerged. They stumbled upon the group's tent, eerily abandoned. It was shredded from within, a desperate escape clearly etched into the fabric. The contents were undisturbed, hinting at a hasty departure. More perplexing were the footprints leading away from the tent, bare or sock-clad, vanishing into the snowy wilderness. These tracks, left by the 9 experienced hikers, painted a haunting picture. Why would seasoned trekkers venture out into the brutal elements without their boots, leaving behind crucial gear? The path of footprints trailed toward the forest's edge. As they vanished into the trees, a chilling realization settled over the rescuers. Whatever had terrified the hikers had driven them into the night, and the search was far from over. They pressed onwards, deeper into the forest, unaware of the disturbing discoveries that lay ahead, waiting in the shadows. As the search continued, the grim reality of the Dyatlov Pass incident began to unfold. Initially, 6 members were discovered, their deaths attributed to hypothermia, but it was the condition of the remaining 3 bodies, found months later, that deepened the mystery. These hikers had suffered severe physical trauma, injuries so severe they echoed the force of a car crash, yet remarkably, their bodies bore no external wounds. One hiker exhibited major skull damage, while 2 others had crushing chest injuries. More unsettling was the state of their soft tissues. 2 were missing eyes, and 1 had their tongue removed. This bizarre array of injuries, combined with the absence of struggle or footprints from others, baffled investigators. The Soviet inquiry concluded that a compelling natural force had been at work. Theories proliferated. Did a freak avalanche or an elusive katabatic wind drive them from their tents? Could infrasound-induced panic have played a role, or perhaps a secret military test gone awry? Each theory seemed as plausible as the next, yet none could fully explain the chilling evidence left behind. As new inquiries reopened decades later, one can't help but wonder, what truth remains hidden beneath the ice and snow of the Dyatlov Pass? And what else might the silent wilderness be concealing? Despite the official stance, the conclusion that a compelling natural force had caused the deaths did little to quell speculation. Theories began to take root, each more intriguing, and in some cases more outlandish than the last. Some suggested the hikers, in their desperate escape from the tent, had fallen victim to a sudden avalanche, a theory bolstered by the Russian government's 2020 investigation, which pointed to a slab avalanche as the most plausible cause. Yet this explanation left many questions unanswered. Why was there no evidence of an avalanche at the site? Others proposed more sinister forces at play, perhaps a secret military test gone awry, or a meeting with Western spies that ended in disaster. Some even speculated about supernatural encounters, with tales of UFOs and mysterious lights in the night sky. A compelling narrative for those who believe the truth lies beyond our understanding of the natural world. And so the theories continue, each with its own cadre of supporters and skeptics. But as the icy winds continue to sweep through the Dyatlov Pass, the true events of that fateful night remain shrouded in mystery. Could the answers lie in the mountains themselves? As we delve into the next chapter, we explore the legacy and ongoing intrigue that keeps this case alive. Days of a few days were common with such expeditions, but as the days turned into weeks, anxiety mounted. By February 20th, the families of the hikers demanded a rescue operation. The first rescue groups, consisting of volunteer students and teachers, hit the ground running, but it wasn't until the military and police forces joined the effort that the grim discoveries were made. On February 26th, the search team stumbled upon the hikers' abandoned tent on Kholat Shyakhl's slopes. A bizarre and chilling scene greeted them. The tent had been slashed open from the inside, and the team's boots and gear were left behind, untouched. Footprints, some barefoot, led away from the tent. Recent investigations, including a 2020 Russian government inquiry, point to a slab avalanche as the likely catalyst for this desperate escape. An unexpected snowslide could have forced the hikers to slash their way out in a panic, disoriented by low visibility conditions and extreme cold. This theory gained support from a 2021 scientific study, suggesting such an avalanche could reasonably explain some of the injuries. Yet, questions linger. Why did experienced hikers familiar with the terrain choose such a perilous campsite? And why do details of this tragedy still elude certainty? Could the mountains themselves hold secrets that even modern science cannot unlock?